Okay, so today we're diving into something really cool, an idea that could literally turn your car into a power plant. It's a technology that might completely reshape our energy grid, help prevent blackouts, and maybe even put a little money back in your pocket.
And no, this isn't some far-off sci-fi dream. It's a very real possibility that engineers are working on right now, and it all starts by tackling a huge daily headache in our electricity system. Just look at the huge difference in price here. During off-peak hours, like the middle of the night, electricity is cheap. But then, during peak hours, when everyone gets home from work and turns on their lights, their TVs, their ovens, the price just skyrockets. And that spike, it isn't just an inconvenience. It's a symptom of a much bigger problem. So this daily tug-of-war, this challenge of meeting peak demand, puts this incredible strain on our whole energy system. It forces us to make some really expensive and, frankly, environmentally unfriendly choices, all just to keep the lights on for a few hours each day.
I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. The absolute busiest 1% of the time, those few hours of extreme usage, accounts for a whopping 8% of our total energy costs. To meet that massive spike, grid operators have to fire up what are called peaker plants. These are often old, inefficient fossil fuel generators that are just incredibly expensive to run and, of course, really polluting.
So what if there was a better way to handle those peaks? A cleaner, a cheaper, a smarter way? Well, this is where your car comes into the picture. It's a technology called vehicle-to-everything, or V2X for short.
V2X is, well, it's a total game changer. It means an electric vehicle with a bidirectional battery isn't just taking energy from the grid, it can send that energy back to the grid. Just imagine millions of EVs parked at homes and in office lots, all acting as one giant distributed battery, a virtual power plant, or maybe think of it as a swarm of batteries on wheels, all ready to help the grid when it's needed most.
And the logic behind it is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It's classic energy arbitrage. Step 1. You charge your car at night when electricity is cheap and plentiful. Step 2. You hold that energy. Then, Step 3, during those expensive peak hours, instead of the grid firing up a dirty peaker plant, it buys that clean, stored energy back from your car. You make a profit, and the grid gets the power it needs.
And the environmental impact here is just massive. According to one study, a single EV enabled with this tech could prevent 60 tons of CO2 emissions from entering the atmosphere every single year. Now multiply that by millions of EVs, and you've got a seriously powerful new tool in the fight against climate change.
And this isn't just a win for the environment. The economic benefits are staggering. A more flexible grid, one that uses V2X, could save a country like the UK up to £17 billion per year by 2050. That's a ton of money that doesn't have to be spent building and running those expensive backup power plants.
Okay, so the idea sounds brilliant, right? But the execution gets a little tricky. How do you possibly coordinate thousands or even millions of different EV owners and commercial fleets to all sell their power at just the right moment for a fair price? This is the coordination challenge.
And here's the heart of the problem. A quote straight from the source material. In any market, people are strategic, right? If you just ask a fleet manager, hey, what's the lowest price you'll accept for your stored energy? They have a huge incentive to lie and name a higher price. If everyone starts doing that, the whole system could become incredibly inefficient and super expensive.
So to get around this whole problem, researchers came up with a really elegant solution, the hour scheduling mechanism. You can think of it like a smart auction for energy. It uses a clever design based on game theory that actually creates a system where telling the truth, being honest, is literally the most profitable strategy for you.
And what's so clever about this mechanism is how it perfectly lines up everyone's interests. First, it's truthful by design, which solves that whole lying problem we just talked about. Second, because everyone is being truthful, the system can find the genuinely cheapest way to meet demand, which maximizes savings for everybody. And third, it guarantees that every single fleet that decides to participate will make a profit. It's a true win-win-win.
So that smart auction is fantastic for planning out the day ahead. But the grid, well, it's kind of a living, breathing thing. Demand and supply can fluctuate wildly and unexpectedly. So on top of that planner, you also need a real-time safety net.
So you've really got two key parts to this whole solution. The hour scheduling mechanism, that's the planner. It makes a smart, cost-effective plan for the day. But this second part, the frequency regulating mechanism, That's the stabilizer. It's operating in real time, kind of like the grid's cruise control, smoothing out any sudden bumps in the road. So what this second mechanism does is it basically pays EVs just to be plugged in and on standby. If the grid's frequency dips just a little bit, which means there isn't quite enough power, thousands of EVs can instantly export a tiny bit of energy to stabilize things. And if the frequency gets too high, meaning there's too much power, they can absorb the extra. It's this essential second-by-second balancing act that's crucial for preventing blackouts.
Okay, so when you put these two really powerful mechanisms together, what does it all actually mean for our energy future? What's the big picture here?
So what's the payoff? Well, you get lower costs for everybody by avoiding that expensive peak power. You get drastically reduced emissions because you're replacing dirty fossil fuels with stored, clean energy. You get a much more stable and resilient grid, and you create an entirely new revenue stream for EV owners.
So really, the biggest takeaway here is that this completely changes how we should think about an electric vehicle. It's no longer just a way to get from point A to point B. With V2X, it becomes a dynamic, profitable asset, an active participant in our huge transition to a cleaner, smarter energy system.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you see an electric delivery van or a city bus, don't just see a vehicle. See a potential power station on wheels. That's the future V2X is building. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.